and welcome to the second review of the night at 4.9 ABV. The first beer is not really enough to even get me, into the zone. So, no, I joke. When you do two reviews in a row, it's very important that the first one not be an extraordinarily hoppy beer. So, that being the case, I did that. Had a nice cup of tea. Loved me some of that, Russian tea. What is that kind of tea? The kind that you put in a, those Russian tea kettles. Yes. But anyways, what are we reviewing tonight? We are reviewing Liberty Ale. What is Liberty Ale? Well, on the pack they say Pale Ale. But to tell the truth, Liberty Ale was the first American IPA. And this was first brewed in 1975 to celebrate the bicentennial of the United States. Well, why don't I read Sorry. Why don't I read the label, shall we? Liberty Ale was first brewed in 1975 in celebration of the 200th anniversary of Paul Revere's historic ride. This pale ale, America's first craft brewed IPA, introduced America to the Cascade hop and the art of dry hopping. So, first dry hopping, first single hopping, first American IPA using American style hops. At 5.9 ABV, it is nowhere near the strength of most American IPAs nowadays. And, in IBUs, in styles, it's not very close to what American IPAs have evolved into. But this is the granddaddy of them all. It's kind of funny because, now it's pretty much what a lot of people would consider just pale ale, both in strength and in flavor profile, which kind of goes to show you how times have changed in American craft beer. So I've had this several times. It's actually kind of hard to find now. The Go West IPA has replaced it, even at Whole Foods, which carries a lot of the Anchor Brewing's bottling line. So that's why I went and picked up this craft pack, so I could go and do a review on this and do a comparison review of Go West IPA and Liberty Ale. So let's get to this, shall we? Oopsie. One problem I have is overpouring at times. You can kind of see, I was trying to aim for a single finger's head or a double finger's head, ended up with 2.5. But that's okay. Nice golden color, slightly lighter than your average current American IPA. Thick, fluffy white head. Not super carbonated, but that's probably because I overpoured it. Interesting smells. It really does smell a little bit more like a heavier American pale ale than an IPA at this point. Still get a whiff of bready hops, bready malts, that's why. Interestingly, the hop definition, oh my goodness, sorry, one of my hairs fell in. I'm not going bald, I'm just dropping hairs. My reviews are nowhere near as smooth as like those reviews that get like 2,000 views, but I like doing it this way. I like being the shambolic sort of beer reviewer who just puts them out by the dozens. And I prefer beer reviewers like that. Definitely get a sense of New World hops, but it's not a very defined. You definitely get those Cascade smells. A crossover of pine needles and excuse me, post-nasal drip. Pine needles, resin, even fresh cut flowers and grass, those herbaceous smells, and even hints of fresh fruit. It's all that sort of new world hop smells in one. Taste is delightfully bitter. What would I say it reminds me of? Well, go and take Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale and just tweak up the malts and the hops by just a little bit. You know, just a little bit up the dial. And you have something that tastes remarkably similar to that. There's a reason why that West Coast style IPA thing was West Coast style IPA. And that is because the early predominance of Cascade hops and, you know, a sort of similar flavor profile. It's expanded and changed over the years as different hop varietals have come in, as different brewing techniques have come in. But in the end, when you go back to the original, you'll find the takeoff point from where everything else sort of developed. Now, if I'm going to be completely honest, there's not much dimensionality to the taste. While there's dimensionality to the nose, to the bouquet, that's obviously there, on the palate, you know, it just kind of strikes as a well-made, but not very super crafty, super artisan IPA, and that's fine. This was the first one. This is going back in time. This is going back to before I was born, before most of the people were reading this were born, and you know, going back to that time when, you know, American brewers were starting to experiment and expand, you know, and recreate the American brewing scene in all of its, you know, variety of the pre-Prohibition era. And we end up with this. First one to open the door, from which many other doors were open for, you know, various other craft brewers, microbrewers, independent breweries. The terminology has changed over the years many times. Excuse me. Post-nasal drip again. And this is going to be one of my more shambolic reviews, sorry. And which is sad, because this is a beer I'm obviously rhapsodizing over just because of the history and what it means. And it's kind of sad, you know, that it's been supplanted by its own breweries, so that it's actually kind of hard to find outside of Anchor's primary distribution area in Central and Northern California. But, you know, it can be found if you want it, and it's definitely worth looking at for that sense of history. So, if you're looking to, you know, step into a time machine back to the start of the craft brewing revolution, definitely go and pick yourself up, if you can find it, a sixer of Liberty Ale. It will take you back to that time as clearly as, you know, a bottle of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale would, or as a bottle of Anchor Brewing's flagship Anchor Steam would. You know, you're not going to get super complexity. You're not going to get something that's very innovative now. Definitely innovative for 1975. But you're not going to get something that's very nuanced or shocking, but you are going to taste history. And that's the important part there, folks. When you drink something like Liberty Ale, you're going back to a starting point from which a whole lot of other beers emerged. And that's why you should go and try this. Not because it's an awesome, mind-blowing brew that goes in new directions, but because at one time it was and it should be honored and savored for that purpose. And it's, if you want to be absolutely honest, it's still an excellent beer. It's just kind of, it's not exciting for our day and age, but it's still great. That's your beer review for tonight, folks. Cheers.